Hello there. This is James, and you're watching OneRoyal, and it's live. In today's program, I want to discuss how maybe after just 2 days of gains, market sentiment has continued, and what we've been used to over the last good couple of trading sessions has resumed. As well as that, I want to talk about a certain vote happening in Germany, plus Trump makes another phone call, and of course, my favorite has hit another all-time high. But before we get into all of that, don't forget, these little videos are for educational purposes only, and in no way whatsoever should ever be taken as financial advice. I always suggest you do your own research, do your due diligence, and of course, know the risks at hand before entering any trade. With that out of the way, let's get started. So, as I mentioned at the beginning of today's program, yes, the market has experienced 2 days of gains, minor gains. And now it seems that, the sell-off has resumed, has basically resumed. I mean, obviously, we still have the ongoing economic concern, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. Trump economics also weighing heavy on the market. And of course, all the attention is on the Fed rate decision happening tomorrow. And here's the thing. There was a little bit of hope by some investors that, this was just a correction and we might start seeing a bounce again, because let's face it, the stocks are cheaper at the moment than they were from the all-time highs. So we might start seeing people buy in again, pushing it back up. Maybe the worst was over, so to speak. But here's the thing. This is the problem we have with it. There is potentially no clear bottom to this at the moment. The sentiment has totally turned around to how it was several weeks ago. I mean, Deutsche Bank, one of their best analysts, who does believe there will be a rebound at some point, but he says, at the moment, we see the sell-off in US equities as having further to go. Further to go. And here's the other thing, as well as that. Investors and consumers are not convinced. They're not convinced. This is why I talk about market sentiment a lot. Consumers and investors, they're not convinced because we had consumer sentiment several weeks ago sink to the lowest level in more than 2 years. So clearly there is not enough bullish sentiment in the market at the moment. And we'll have a look at the market. Actually, we'll have a look at the market now. And let's pull it up and have a look at it. Let's start off with, obviously, the S&P 500. I know you always start off with that because that's really how we sort of tend to gauge the health of the market, is really by the S&P. So here's the S&P 500 at the moment. As you can see, look, we had 2 days of gains, glorious gains. There was much rejoicing. But then once again, reality is set in. I mean, you look at the highs of February, and again, I stress, I did a video on this several weeks ago when that high happened. We talked about this potential sell-off happening back then, whether the market was kidding itself. But you can see it continues. So again, 2 days of gains. Yeah. So we have a look at the Nasdaq as well. Again, appreciated 2 days of gains, now currently trading lower again. So the sell-off has resumed. If we look at the Dow Jones, for example, 2 days of gains. But again, once again, the sell-off is kicked in because, again, potentially there is no bottom at the moment. And the underlining factor of the concerns we have about Trumponomics and about obviously economic slowdown and about what the Fed is going to do tomorrow is weighing heavy on the market. And let's just have a look at the Mag 7, because don't forget Mag 7 is a massive driving factor behind the S&P. Okay, you see Tesla, and I've talked about Tesla a lot. And we discussed this several times. Again, under pressure. Don't forget it lost 5% again yesterday. Currently now it's down 5.35%. Meta platforms down 4.86%. Amazon down 2.40%. Alphabet down 3.61%. Nvidia down 2.96%. And they've got an important event coming up with the CEOs about to make an announcement. So it's interesting to see the repercussions of that. Apple, okay, still down, but not by a lot, 0.39, 41%, but it's doing the better out of the rest. But as you can see, you know, there is, again, those 2 days of rejoicing not happening at the moment. Again, it all is basically with the idea of what the Fed may do tomorrow. And that will be key. Like I said, and we'll talk again a bit about that again in a minute anyway. On other news, German Parliament. It's not all doom and gloom. German Parliament are set to vote on a historical fiscal package. Now, this vote will not enable a higher defense spend and 500 billion euros for infrastructure and a climate fund. Now, don't forget that the German economy is being a little bit rocky, like everybody else's. Hello. Hello there, sir. Excellent. Nice to hear from you. It is. Don't forget, guys, this is obviously a live show. So if you're watching me on YouTube, come in, say hello, share me your opinions, ask me questions. It's nice. It is nice to get a hello. So nice to meet you, sir. Thank you. So like I said, don't forget the German economy has been sort of struggling recently, and there's a lot of issues of it. A lot of people thought it was bordering on recession. So this obviously injection is really going to boost the German economy. It could really potentially boost them. And obviously because of the recent developments, you know what I'm talking about, like trade issues and discussions on defense, this is a major thing for Germany, obviously. And on the knock-on effect, obviously, is that the euro is currently enjoying a 5-month high because of it as well. Not just because of that, but obviously because of a weaker US dollar as well. But it is enjoying a 5-month high, which we'll have a look at in a second. And it's not just the euro. European stocks are also enjoying their time in the sun. Don't forget, we've done lots of videos, because don't forget, I go live every day. So I'm always here for you to say hello, have a chat with me, and I always talk about latest updates and discussions of what's going on in the market. And we talked about this a little while back, how European stocks are being the investment and choice over US stocks. European stocks have performed extremely well this year. Let's have a quick look at the market as we stand. Let's start off with the euro. Okay, start off with the euro. So, like I say, we're currently experiencing a 5-month high. Put it on up just so we can see it. What's happened there? Let's reset it. That's better. It's a bit easier to look at now, isn't it? So as you can see, we've experienced a 5-month high. We're obviously started coming under pressure in October, and especially obviously after the US election. But it's since recovered. And like I said, we're now trading around 1.9034. So extremely performing extremely well. There's a lot more confidence in the single currency than there was at the beginning of the year. Because don't forget, at the beginning of the year, there was a lot of talk and a lot of speculation that the euro could once again go down to parity. But for now, and bear in mind, the ECB also seems to be a bit more hawkish into cutting rates as well as giving the boost. But it's boost with Germany, and don't forget, other European countries have said they're going to do the same, is really giving it a bit of a boost as well. And we have a look at the German DAX, for example. I mean, it obviously has hit an all-time high so far this month. So European stocks are really benefiting. We look at the Euro Stoxx 50, for example. Again, it hit an all-time high. Okay, slightly down, obviously, from the high, but still hit an all-time high this year. Keeping on currencies, I just want to have a quick look at another currency with you as well. Don't forget, Great British Pound. We actually, briefly today, went back to the 130 level. Only briefly, hit 130 again. But as it stands, was trading just below the 130 level, so still trading at 129.63. Don't forget, we have the Bank of England interest rate decision as well on Friday. I don't expect the BOE to do anything. So anyway, moving on to other stories. Yes, of course, like I said at the beginning of today's program, Trump is going to make another phone call. He's getting very good at making phone calls. And indeed, he's going to make another phone call, and he's going to be talking to Putin. And they're going to discuss this 30-day ceasefire in Ukraine. Now, the big question with this, of course, is what sort of concessions are Russia going to ask for this ceasefire, and what sort of concessions that Ukraine are willing to accept. Now, we all know roughly, I think, what Putin's put on the table. For one, current territory they occupy, they want to keep. Elections in Ukraine, a general election in Ukraine, and the absolute ironclad guarantee that Ukraine will never, ever join NATO. Now, Trump has said there is discussions about land, and there's those discussions about power plants. Like I say, again, I'm not going to get involved in politics at all, but is Ukraine likely to accept this as some sort of form of ceasefire, or, this is the big thing. But I think it's going to be a very interesting conversation. If we get developments out of it, be interesting. Trump thinks we might do, but again, it depends. It's not really what the US should mediate by all means. But really, the discussions has got to be Ukraine and Russia to what they agree, how to put an end to this 3-year conflict. So anyway, that would be an interesting development to watch. Anyway, talking of conflict, which is never a good thing. Of course, never a good thing. Unless, you're potentially a gold trader, because obviously gold is hit another, broken another record once again. Don't forget, it was only on Friday I was talking about it breaking a record, and when it broke the $3,000 mark. But it did it again today. It's hit another all-time high again today. And it's currently trading, I'll bring it up and we'll have a look at it at the moment, just under $330. Now, obviously, the drive in gold, there's several reasons. I've done lots. Those who watched me beforehand, they know I'm a gold bug, and I talk about gold a lot, almost all the time, because it's my first love. It's the first thing I've ever traded. And obviously, the drive in gold is really the fear of conflict in the Middle East expanding, and it is creating or driving more of the flight to safety. We've already seen the flight to safety, because of economic worries. The market is down, and we see people go into it as well. But the recent developments, obviously, between Israel and Hamas over the last 24 hours as well, is also spurred the allure of gold to markets. So that's also driving it as well. Because there is general fear that recent developments over the last 24, 48 hours, it could start expanding as well, which is usually, like I say, fear of conflict or expansion of conflict. It's one of the things which can activate the flight to safety. So anyway, let's have a quick look at gold as we talked about it. As we brought it up, let's have a look at the yellow metal. As you can see, again, this is on a daily. Again, we hit around about 300, just over $3,030. But if we're looking at it steadily, that was the day it broke the 3,000 mark. So that was the day it broke the 3,000 mark with a bit of bout of profit taking. But surprisingly, what's interesting is usually when you see, or when I've seen gold hit an all-time high, eventually you do get a bout of profit taking, a bit more dramatic than what we saw. I'm not saying that we're not going to get a bout of profit taking anytime soon. It's natural when something hits a new all-time high, but at the moment, that bout of profit taking is not taking place. So that's really interesting to see. Anyway, moving away from my beloved gold. It's something interesting as well, just I want to touch base with, which I think could be quite an interesting thing, which might develop down the line. Carney's European tour. It's not really a European tour. But anyway, new Canadian Prime Minister, Mark Carney, because of obviously the trade war, or the fears of trade war with the United States and relations with the United States, he has decided to try and build some relationships with other allies, or strengthen relationships, shall I say, because we have got a relationship with him, obviously. He's set to meet French President Macron, I believe it's today, and tomorrow he will be going to the UK to meet Prime Minister Keir Starmer and then meet the King. Because obviously, don't forget, the King is still head of state of Canada. And don't forget, we've had a relationship with Mark Carney. He was the Bank of England governor during the Brexit time. So, we have a good relationship with Carney already. But I think this is obviously clear signs that he wants to try and strengthen relationships with other allies, because obviously the recent issues with tariffs and the trade war. So obviously, he wants to do that. And this really comes at quite an important time as well, because don't forget, the tariffs have only really just started. But Canadian CPI year on year was actually announced at 2.6% versus 2.1% expected. So it is a bit higher. So this sort of thing is obviously quite a necessity if you don't want to be. It's quite important. So anyway, that's another story. But anyway, moving on, really, realistically, the market has got one thing on its mind. It's got obviously tariffs. It's one thing that's always on its mind. But really is tomorrow, which is the Fed interest rate decision. Expectation is for them to keep it at 4.5, do very little. But I think it's the press conference is going to be the most important, because this is where the market will try and guess, are we going to get 2 or 3 rate cuts from the Fed this year, and how nervous are they? Anyway, other news coming up today, obviously, like I say, Bank of Japan interest rate decision tomorrow as well. EU CPI, Fed is the big one. Bank of England, and we also have the S&B on Thursday as well. Don't forget, these little, these are live shows. So you can talk to me anytime you wish, or share with me your opinions. Let me know what you think. What's your opinion on the euro? What's your opinion on the market, on gold? Are you a gold bug like me, for example? Great show. Very informative. Thank you very much for your kind words. I really appreciate that. Thank you. I really do. Thank you very much. So don't, the whole point of doing the live shows, okay, is the idea that we can build a community, we can talk together, we can share ideas, we can talk, and you can ask me questions as well. So if you have any questions or anything in relation to trading stuff, you can ask me. It's the whole idea of live shows. Of course, if you're not watching me live, because a lot of people go back and watch the recordings on YouTube, etc., or Twitter, and you have a question, put it in the comments below, and I will see them, and I will answer the comment next time I go live on air. Okie dokie. If there is no questions or nothing, don't forget, like I say, if you watch me on YouTube and you like this sort of thing, subscribe if you like, hit a notification button so you know next time I'm going live, which is every day. Give me one of these as well if you put up with me and you like this type of content. If you're watching me on Twitter, and you give us a follow if you like, or if you like it, it's not fun, is it? It's a heart, I think. Twitter, what I'm talking about is X now. I'm old. Forgive me. Anyway, there is no questions. Till next time, don't forget, these little videos are for educational purposes only, and in no way whatsoever should ever be taken as financial advice. I always suggest you do your own research, do your own due diligence, and of course, know the risks at hand before entering any trade. Till next time, every single one of you, trade safe.